going up, we going crazy, going bonkers. Produced by Ziggy, Zay Ticket, believe that.
It ain't peaches, it'll deceive you, boy, believe me. What you know about a jungle made with nothing but semen. No creepy crawlers, just heathens that prey on your weakness. Smell the slightest hint of fear, and the stainless you'll eat it. Gang bangers that grit your test on their face like Weezy. Pulling up by the ounce, walking around looking sleepy. I'm from a town, no integrity, a broken city, disrupted. I know niggas were real hook now, turning into suckers. When it comes to murder, it's nothing. Rallos get pulled over scuffles. Bumpy road around this motherfucker, your life means nothing. It ain't peaches. Niggas walking around with no feelings, with a chip on their shoulder, saying the world don't feel it. Trying to earn them some millions so they can split with they niggas. I know cats that died broke because they lost all ambition. When it comes out to get
Welcome back to another edition of More to Live For. Have a great one for you this morning. To all my viewers and subscribers and my followers that's been, watching the whole journey. I started this channel with one goal in mind, that was to raise as much awareness about autism as possible. And that led me, to just different avenues of the channel. But, this morning we're going right back to the original, foundation of the channel. So I have a very special one for you this morning. So hope you guys enjoy. Have a very special young lady with me this morning. She's going to tell us about her foundation and everything that she has going, and should be good. How you doing this morning, ma'am?
I'm doing good. My
Awesome.
name is Ashanti Williams. I am the owner and founder of All Things Autastic and Team Ziggy.
Okay, all right. I think that's pretty great. Can you tell us, what led to you being a part of this foundation, and how did you get started?
Okay. Well, when my son was about 9 months, I noticed that something was different. Like most parents, you notice that your child doesn't walk or talk or do things like that. You just brush it off because you're a new parent. They just might be a slow learner. But Ziggy, he was different. Like he started talking, then he stopped, and then all of a sudden, around like 11 to 12 months of age, he was fixated with like numbers and patterns, and he would do things normal kids that I've seen from my nieces and nephew not do. And
Right.
He could memorize TV guides and all of that. So I'm like, okay. So I started asking the doctors like, hey, he does this and he doesn't do this. And they threw out the word autism. And I'm like, I've never heard of this word. Mind you, I was 21 years old. I didn't know nothing about autism. They didn't talk about that in school. So I started doing my own research, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna get him in speech therapy. I signed up for what was called the CDSA, the Child Development Services Agency, and they got me in speech therapy and physical therapy because he wasn't walking as well. And so he started to progress. He ended up going to Sadie Salter and their IDMO classroom, or autism classroom, as many people call it, self-contained, whatever. And he started speaking again. He started being around other kids that was kind of like him, but on different spectrums. So he started talking, and then he was, put in kindergarten, and his teachers was like, you have an amazing kid. Like, he's really smart. And I'm like, he is. And it's like, I work with him constantly at home, like all day. I had note cards up. We was going over words. On the way to school, we were reading in the book, and reading books in the car. And his teacher was like, let's try him in a regular classroom. This is about Ziggy's probably about the second grade now. And I was like, I'm kind of nervous. I don't know how that's going to go. And it shocked me because he did great. And he was the first kid at his elementary school to be transitioned out of an IDMO class and put in a regular classroom setting. So I'm like, okay, early intervention is, it really helps. Like,
Yes.
If you don't have those resources, your child could be, can be stuck. I'm not saying everybody's child will, flourish off of these, but it helps. You never know what potential your child has if you're holding them back or in denial about their diagnosis. So now here Ziggy is in the 7th grade as an honor student in a regular class. He does get pulled out with, resource help. He does go to the AU department and gets help for reading and math, but he's still able to function in a regular classroom. So to me, I saw so many kids struggling, and I saw the potential in so many kids in their community. Like, parents just don't have access to these resources that I did, because I had a great support system. So I had parents and I had a husband that was there, helping me with Ziggy. But some people don't have that. So I was like, I want to be that person. I want to be that person people come to help them get resources, to help them, just to talk through the stress or whatever they're going through on a day-to-day basis with dealing with their child with autism, because it's not easy. And when you're alone, it makes it worse. Or if you're blinded by it, it's completely out.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing your your experiences with autism. I'm not sure if if I had the chance to share my experience with you, but I have two sons that both
Okay.
have autism. My oldest son is 14, and one thing that I've noticed, mainly having two sons, I've
Mhm.
heard other people say that there are similarities with children with autism, but you can't really see one child and expect the next
Other one.
autistic
Mhm.
child you may encounter to be the exact same way. And I kind of just want to tie that into to the conversation, because the things that you're describing about your son is like some of those things I can relate to my youngest son,
Mhm.
especially the part of starting out speaking, and around that age, close to that first birthday, it's kind of like everything stopped. I definitely can relate to that, because that's what Cameron had
Mhm.
going on. And Cameron is my youngest son. He's in kindergarten now,
Okay.
but kind of something else that you said that's definitely so true. The fact that when he was at his, when he was at, those main toddler ages, 3 and 4,
Mhm.
that's when, we were going through the pandemic. So, he didn't have the opportunity to go to daycare, Head Start, anything like that. And I definitely think that, that kind of ties into, some of his delays that he may have. But
Mhm.
I definitely understand everything, about autism. And I definitely was, open and accepted to that. And I was able to, me and my wife kind of, going through this journey together with my youngest son. I, went through the journey a different way with my oldest son per se.
Yeah.
Uh, but I definitely, want to, kind of chime in on the fact that, everything that you said I can relate to, especially about when it comes to my older son, because, your son is older now. So
Mhm.
I definitely can relate to those part about, just seeing him, flourish in school, just seeing him, you know, not letting, this delay, this disability, kind of, you know, have him stuck, like you said, the important thing for me was, once I, got all the knowledge about it, because I didn't know anything about it too. I'm
Mhm.
37 now. My oldest son is 14. I found out about autism with him. I think it was maybe when he was three, three and a
Yeah.
half. So
Three. Mhm.
talking around 2011, 2012. So that's when I found out about it. And since then, I've been doing, I've been researching and learning everything that I can that it is about it, and it just kind of put me in a better place, and not per se me, but me and my son, just knowing everything that I know about it and being able to raise awareness. And another part, I know I'm kind of long with it, but another
Oh, no,
part,
you're fine.
the awareness is the acceptance.
Yes.
I think they kind of go hand in
Hand
hand.
in
And
hand.
when I mean by acceptance, not necessarily, not necessarily, being accepted in the public, but
Mhm.
you know, people, not necessarily our culture, but you said you didn't know anything about it, and I didn't either. So when I mention acceptance, I mean, like once we know what it is about it, and not try to, because I don't know about you, but when I was when my son was young and I was just finding out about it, I was hearing, from people that, not necessarily qualified to tell. They weren't,
Mhm.
medical professionals, but I was hearing from a lot of naive people. Oh, it's just temporary, just he'll grow out of it, things like that. And I kind of think I think that ties into the acceptance part about it.
Yeah.
Once
To me,
it's
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
okay. It's okay.
To me, when people say that, I call it ignorance.
Yeah.
Because it's ignorance because they're not educated about it. So you can't come up to someone and talk about something that they're going through on a daily basis, and you're ignorant or you're blinded to it. People can say, oh, I accept autism. Oh, I do this with autism. But are you really accepting? Are you educating yourself? Are you educating people in the community about it? Are you going to seminars? Are you doing like you're doing, you know, a channel to educate the public about autism? Because autism is no cure for autism.
Right.
And another thing I hate is when people go, oh, they don't look like they have autism. What does that look like? Because it's just, it's a child where people like, you can't tell me that our bones are going to tell you that my child had autism. It's not. Right. But people are just, you know, so caught up in what society says is normal that anything that's different, they're going to tell you, oh, they'll grow out of that.
Yeah.
It's just, but they're not. And so now it's like, do we really force them to grow out of it, or do we force the world to grow into their world?
Exactly.
So that's what I'm here to promote, inclusion. I don't want you to just accept it. I want you to be inclusive about it. I want you to do something with me, like make this world a better place by, you know, let's move into their world. So that's what I do.
Exactly. I had the first project that I did on this channel about autism. It was with another father, you know,
okay.
And that segment was Black Fathers of Autism. Yeah. This kind of, you know, it's gonna lead to a long discussion, but the first thing I wanted to point out, when me and him had this conversation, it was important that and you know, you just said it. Mm-hmm. We discussed how important it is to not, you know, necessarily get our sons you know, ready for the world, but we have to not only be their voice, but we have to be a part of getting the world ready for them. And you just said something about that, and I think that's so important. And I just want, you know, to take the time to acknowledge that, because that's, you know, that's the main goal, you know, with this raising awareness and acceptance, is to get the world ready for them, not necessarily get them ready for the world. So I think that's very important.
This fly is bothering me.
I definitely understand. And another thing, and this just kind of speaks, you know, on a broader scale, but I definitely appreciate, you know, the things that you're doing in the community. And me and the same gentleman, we also discussed this. You know, I had this particular part of the channel called Black Fathers of Autism because in my, you know, 14 years experience with it, you know, mainly when I'm going to this was until I got married, but, you know, mainly when I'm going to these meetings and, you know, anything dealing with autism, you know, I see the moms there, you know, I see the dads there, but, you know, not many dads that look like me. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do too, is, you know, just to continue to basically, and I said this in the last video that I had with my friend too, I'm trying to get in a position that, you know, us as Black men, Black fathers can catch up with the things that the Black mothers are doing, you know, when it comes to autism, and to be totally honest, a lot of other topics too. But, you know, we just gonna focus on autism now. But I definitely think, you know, as a Black father, like, you know, the bar has been set, and, you know, we got to meet y'all there.
Yeah. It's I talk to my husband about that a lot, because he's more so in the shadow. He's supportive, he's there, he's 100%, but with men, y'all have this thing with emotions and affection. You can't be too soft. You can't be too this on your child, or, you know, they can grow up differently. But with children with autism, sometimes you have to have that softer side, because, and it doesn't matter if you're a Black father, a white father, Hispanic, or whatever. As a male, that's just something, when it comes to your child with autism, you have to learn to embrace. You have to be embracing. And if you're too busy worried about what society's thinking of you as a man, then you're missing out on your child. So it takes a lot with becoming a father, even though I'm a mom, but I can see it from different point of views. Like, dads have to do things 10 times harder than a mom when it comes to their children, because boys automatically go to their mama anyway. So my son, he clings to me more not that my husband wasn't there. It's just I'm more affectionate with him. I'm more embracing, and my husband's more of a, I'm a dad. We're gonna do this, and don't get me wrong, he loves my husband. They bond in a whole different way. But dads, you have to wake up and stop. We want our kids to just be that kid we can go outside and play football with, play basketball with, and all of those. And sometimes it's harder for children with autism to do those things with their dad. So I think a program for dads would be something great.
Yes.
I do.
That just kind of ties back into what I'm trying to do. I'm definitely trying to maybe some guys can see this and they're not exactly comfortable talking about autism and being a autism dad, but maybe this can spark that conversation and
exactly
and not by themselves, and they have a safe haven to discuss this with. And I definitely think once like I said, once us as dads, once we catch up to the things and the great groundwork that all the mothers are doing, like I definitely think that the world would be a better place for autistic children.
It would be if we, like I said, support. It has to have a support system. If you don't have that support, it goes a long way when making your child, whether or not they're going to be comfortable or afraid to live in this world. And that's how I feel like that's what started me to do pretty much almost everything I'm doing right now. Like, but speaking of dads, like my basketball program that I'm getting ready to start this weekend starts October 1st. And that's something where, a dad can come out with his son and play basketball. They can come out there. We do have volunteers that are experienced in basketball that's going to be there. But I'm not sure if, you probably know Mr. Aaron Short.
K1. Oh, yes.
Yes. They were very supportive of me when I said I wanted to do something, because my son tried out for basketball and he didn't make the team. And for him to actually just want to go out and try out, that was like the biggest thing ever, because his sensory levels, when it comes to being around different people and loud noises and stuff like that, he hates it. But he loves basketball. Like, he breathes basketball. He can tell you anything and everything about any NBA team and about Ja. Ja Short, he talks about him all day long. And so, it made me like, if my son can't make this team, let's give him the opportunity to have his own team.
Exactly.
And so the Autistic Hoop Start will start October 1st, and it allows children with not just autism, but all special needs to come out and learn the skills so that maybe you can go out and play for a regular school team or join a Special Olympics basketball team, or who knows, it might blow up and we have our own league. But that's just something I wanted to do. And he was very supportive. Mr. Short was very supportive of that with me, and he helped me, in a lot of ways. I was just very grateful.
Definitely. Real fast, definitely shout out to the Short family. Definitely, I've been knowing them for quite a while. They feel just like family to me, and they speak highly of you as well as others. So that's why, once again, it's definitely an honor for me to be doing this project with you. You just certain things that you said, they kind of hit home in a different way. Especially, I definitely think this is awesome, the things that you're doing, with this basketball team, and being able to, provide, alternative for kids that don't necessarily make the school team that they're on. But I think it's awesome because, and this just goes back to, the dad's point of view. And I definitely think, I'm pretty sure it's other dads that feel like this as well. But me personally, I think that, when it comes to my oldest son, when it comes to sports and things like that, I think I kind of dropped the ball on that, because I wasn't, necessarily trying to push him into sports and things like that. He showed interest in certain ones, but I made it real clear that, that he doesn't, have to necessarily do that if he doesn't want to, because, my son, right now is, he's 14, but he's already 6 feet, maybe 205, something like that. So he's always been, a big kid for his age. But at a young age, I just wanted, to well, I can't necessarily say I dropped the ball, but I kind of wanted to make it known to him, being, that at his size, he's bigger than his classmates and other
Yeah.
kids his age. But I just wanted to make it clear to him that doesn't necessarily have to be the only thing that you're good at because of your size. So, but in doing that, I definitely think that I didn't necessarily give him the right chance to be able to participate in sports. But he showed interest in it, but it just wasn't something that I was pushing on him, because I wanted to to let him understand that just because you're tall, that doesn't necessarily have to be your scapegoat. But I realized that he may have missed on those opportunities to build friendships and things like that. So that's why I think what you're doing with starting this, I definitely think this is definitely something awesome. And recently, before I reached out to you, actually, Mr. Short, he did reach out to me and ask me about that, if I would like for my son to be in that. So I definitely think that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to. So shout out to you and him for putting that together.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. It will also teach kids with special needs social skills. So because like my son, everybody knows him. He's probably the most popular kid in Farmville, but is he going to engage in a conversation with you? No. That social awkwardness with autism, it plays a big role in how their future may play out. And so it's like, if we can get these kids to come together and communicate with each other, then maybe they'll start communicating with other people. And so therefore they can express themselves, and people don't have to assume what they're thinking or try to figure out what's going on in their heads.
Right.
Explain it themselves. And so that's how, hey, it's a social way for them to socialize, as well as another event I'm having in December on the 3rd. I'm having an autistic formal, which will allow kids and individuals with autism and special needs to come out and, have a night where they can dress up and enjoy music, food. It's kind of sort of like a prom, and tickets are on sale on my website, which are also on the flyers. Another thing is with people with autism, they have sensory overloads. And so we had a big fundraiser that I do every year in April called the Autistic Extravaganza. And I raise monies, and with the money I raise, I donate to the local schools. So I donated over $3,500 to Sug Bundy Elementary's AU and Autism Resource Department. And with that money, they funded designed an area in the school called the Ziggy Sensory Zone. And it's not just for kids with autism, but all the kids in the entire school love it. They walk down the hallway and they play with the little gadgets on the wall on a day-to-day basis. This year, we raised almost like $2,900, and I donated that to Farmville Middle School. And I provided resource help such as bouncy bands and fidget boards and little items that they need to help their kids focus and function in school. With all of that, it's just, my son likes loud noises. He wears headphones. So we purchased headphones for the classroom. And I don't know. I love autism. Like my husband said, I live and breathe autism.
I definitely can relate.
When I see a child with autism, it's like now I can automatically pick them out. I can tell, okay, your child has autism, but I don't walk up to people and just tell people that your child has autism, do something about it, because I wouldn't want anybody to do that to me.
Right.
But I do want parents to know that you're not alone. So don't be embarrassed at all. Don't be ashamed of your child, because once you accept it, then you can get the resource help you need. And then once you do that, educate yourself. And I tell people that all the time. Once you accept it, then you can move on to education. And once you educate yourself about autism, then you can promote acceptance and inclusion. And then your child will live a more successful, comfortable life.
Exactly.
Because if you live in a closet with it, it's just gonna get harder and harder.
Exactly. Definitely. I definitely think everything that you said, with everything, I can relate, and that's why this conversation is so cool. This project is so fun to be able to do. when you mentioned about this formula that you have, it, once again it brought back memories. My son is in middle school too. He's in 8th grade, and he recently last year he had a school dance, and just the look on his face and the pictures that I seen, it just looked like he had such a good time. And so I definitely think what you're doing is definitely giving kids who may or may not have had this opportunity yet in their school to experience this, and to be able to experience this in a way that's comfortable to them. With everything you said about sensory overloads, I definitely can relate, more so with my youngest son than my oldest son. Well, once again, certain things with my oldest son, it's like I wasn't as educated about autism, so it's like certain things I didn't really pick up on as fast as I should, especially when it comes to the noise level, that particular sensory overload. But learning everything that I learned, and now having a younger son, and I'm able to, I definitely think I did a good job, with my older son and the things that I've been able to do with autism. But just being able to do it again, and and basically using everything that I learned now, I definitely think I'm in a better place, and my youngest son's in a better place. And then great programs like you got, I definitely think that we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I like you were saying, educate yourself. When I was younger and I first found out about Ziggy having autism, it was one of those. I'm not gonna lie, I cried. I didn't know what it was. I really cried because who would expect your first child to have something that's going to be lifelong? I mean, it changed my life for the better. It actually made me a better person. But I can remember the first time we went out in public and he had a meltdown or a tantrum, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, he's kicking, he's screaming. People are just staring at me. And he was upset because the little girl was playing with the toy that he wanted, even though it wasn't his. He just, he couldn't understand why he couldn't have it. And so he just had this meltdown, and it was embarrassing because people are staring at you. And I had one lady ask me, why you just don't go take him to the bathroom and pop him? And I'm like, it's not that simple. Like we have to let him understand and deal with it. And I learned to, his coping skills. Sometimes you just have to let them have it. Don't give in to them, because when you give in to them, it's not helping. It's not teaching them, no, I'm not supposed to do this. So I remember I have so many memories of those autism moments that people they expect to see every day, or what they don't see behind closed doors is, I'm not going to eat certain types of foods. Don't put this on me. Or you put ice in my cup, I'm not drinking nothing for the rest of the day. And you got to put my socks on first. It's like everything is a schedule. So you have to do things in routines. And one change in their routine, and it's over. Like every morning, people laugh at me because we have to listen to his favorite songs. It's 3 of them every morning on the way to school in the same exact order. And if something happens and it's out of order, his day is like wonkers. I guess you could say that. We get out the car every morning at 7:57. It can't be 7:56, 7:58. It has to be 7:57, or he will not get out of that car. And it's like, those are the things that, us as parents with autism, we go through on a daily basis. So parents are like, oh, it can't be that hard. It is hard. It is extremely hard. And then you have other kids, you don't want to, not show them that same attention because they don't have a disability or they don't have autism. And it's like, they look at you like, well, how come I can't do this and Ziggy can? And it's like, it's not that you can't. It's just that the reason he has to do this is different than the reason you want to do it. You want to eat pizza every day, but Ziggy's not going to eat nothing if he doesn't have pizza or chicken. So it's like, we got to compromise when we have other kids too.
I didn't understand. I have my daughter, she doesn't have autism, so definitely can relate to everything you said. But she definitely has been supportive of, her big brother as well as her younger brother. So I definitely, can relate to, having, a child, on the spectrum and all.
You're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. How about now? Everything's good now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, sorry about that. What I want to finish with is, all the walks that I want to talk about, all the walks that you've been involved in, and just that whole experience.
Okay, well, the first walk we were ever involved in was the one Greenville actually organized through the Autism Society, and we would go there every year, do their fundraisers and stuff like that. So the picture that you just showed is the first walk I actually organized. COVID was still, going on, but I wanted to do something in the Farmville community because not too many people know about Farmville, and it's so many children around here with autism. So I'm like, hey, I want to organize a walk. And I was nervous. I was confused. I didn't, it's the first big event I've ever done. I've done birthday parties, but this was something different. And it was like, I was nervous. I actually had my top sponsor, Ferrier and Son. I went and had a meeting with them, and he's, we sat down and we was talking at, in his office, and he was just, I don't know, surprised or shocked. I guess I don't know the words, but he believed in me. He took a chance in me, and, he donated a large amount of money to help my event, become a success. And with his support, I started meeting other sponsors, and other people started wanting to contact me. It was like, hey, how can I be a part of your event? Because, our first event, it was nice. It was a nice size, nice crowd. I want to say maybe 100 to 120 people showed up. But this year, my second event, of course, Ferrier and Sons were there to support me as well. Derek Perry from Allstate and Carolina Therapy Connections, all of these major companies that, deal with people or families that have autism or stuff like that. They were so supportive that I guess you could say the crowd this year that I had was huge. I had so much news coverage. It was amazing. It was just ways, and I have resource vendors out there with information about autism, or you can just purchase, autism wear like shirts and cups. And we had a sensory center out there for children that were overloaded. They can go and they could play in the bins. They had headphones available. We had food, music, games from New Look. They come out and set up the bounce houses, and it's amazing. It just seems like it keeps growing and growing. So it's one of those things that I want to continue to do. So therefore, when my son gets older, he has a legacy to look back on. Like my mom did all of this for me, and my other kids, they're so involved in it that kids ask them, well, what's autism? And my little girl can explain it to you. And she's in 4th grade. Like, she can explain it. Even my 5-year-old, he can say, my brother has autism, and he'll tell you, he just thinks differently. And that's what they'll say, or he doesn't like to talk to people, but they can explain it in their own terms. And that's what I want. I want other kids to understand that this is what this is. It's not something that's contagious or something that can kill you, but it's just the way that they're different. But it's okay to be different. Like I always say, together we can make the pieces fit. And that's what my shirt says.
Awesome.
Because I truly believe that.
I definitely do. Once again, ma'am, thank you for not only doing this interview with me, but everything that you're a part of. All the awareness that you're raising. I definitely think it's not only helpful to your son, but it's helpful to my sons and everyone else that's watching. Everyone else that's that has a autistic child or anything dealing with autism. What you're doing is great.
And I'm gonna correct you on something. I always put your person before the label. So instead of autistic child, you say my child with autism. It just makes them more, accepting, because autism is just a label. It's just a label. It's just like, Nike wouldn't be nothing without the name. It would just be a check. So you always think of that.
Exactly. And you saying that, it kind of reminded me of something that something that I read recently. And it says if the parent focus more on the autism than the child, then that's already a problem. So
exactly.
Thank you for correcting me, because I did just read that not so long ago.
That is true. So many people are trying to fix autism when you can't fix your child. Your child is still your child.
Exactly. But what we're doing is fixing the world to be
the world to understand what the label is. Yes.
Exactly. So once again, ma'am, I want to thank you for doing this project with me. Before we wrap things up, is there anybody that you want to shout out? I heard you say a few sponsors. I definitely think, that's definitely, you know, uh, something major, something when you get to a level that you have sponsors for, certain things that, pure things that you're trying to raise awareness
Yes.
of. I definitely think that's a major accomplishment.
Yes, like I said, my top sponsors are Farrier and Sons, Derek Perry of Allstate, Carolina Therapy Connections, East Carolina Orthopedics, Dentistry, Farmville, the town of Farmville, the mayor John Moore, my support system, Casey Lamont, Krista Van Voren, Sharon Morgan, my husband, of course, the entire Williams and Morgan family. They're just my family's amazing. The whole farmer community, the principal at HB Suggs, the principal at Farmer Middle School, they're accepting, and I'm hoping I'm not leaving anybody out, but charge it to my heart, my head, not my heart. But it's a lot of people that has truly been there in support to help me. Brandy Covington, she was my son's therapist, and when I say she became a personal friend, she's amazing. Um, it's a lot of people out there. Thank you for allowing me to come up here and to ramble because I feel like I'm just rambling at this moment.
No problem.
But thank you.
And like I said, and thank you for all that you do in the community. We definitely, headed in the right direction of making this world a better place for children with autism. And you know, every project that I've done, somehow, some way, your name was mentioned. So that just goes to show that, what you're doing in the community is not being overlooked. So you
Well,
definitely,
I'm glad that it is. I'm glad.
community, when it comes to this. So. If that's all, ma'am, like I said, I definitely want to thank you for doing this once again. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to wrap things up. There's been another edition of More to Live For with an exclusive autism awareness video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was time I get back to the roots of this channel. So, peace and blessings to all that watching. Why settle for less? My last name is Moore. It's the voice of the North. See you next time.
Man, I ran into this teacher a few months ago.